Hi, I'm Jason Matthews, owner of Matthews Painting Company near Warsaw, Indiana. We continue our tutorial videos that we show each of our new employees who we train to become professional painters. Today we're going to be discussing the different types of painter's tape that we actually use. Some call it masking tape. There are many others and many other companies, so this is just an overview of what we typically have in our company. Now, some of our crew leaders like one brand over another or one thickness over another, but this is just an overview to kind of help you at home and help our own employees and crew leaders know what paint to grab depending on what type of situation that they're going to be painting on. And then you'll hear me mention a lot of days, 30 days, 60 days. That's how long the manufacturer says the tape can stay on a surface without the adhesive releasing, like on a wood floor or on a window that you masked or a baseboard. I will tell you that those are just ballpark days. Many times it's a lot less days than that depending on the conditions. So we're going to get started over here. These three type of rolls of tape we use only on interior surfaces, and they're all for delicate finishes. You can see this one's called Delicate Surfaces. It's purple. We call this 2-inch because it's roughly 2 inches wide. And this one we call our 60-day tape. You notice that these can be used for, can be on a surface for up to 60 days. And then we have our frog tape here, which is a little bit different as well. And that's supposedly, again, these all can stay on the surface for 60 days. But more important than that, this is for interior use only right here. Your Delicate Surface purple. We call this orange core blue many times. And then you've got your yellow frog tape, not to be confused with a yellow tape I'm going to show you here in a little bit. The reason this one's in a container is it has a powder material on there that's very similar to what is in a diaper, for example, so that if you get any paint bleed, it actually swells up, much like you see here, and you get much straighter lines. Many painters and some of our crew leaders, after they have taped the surface, will actually take a wet rag after they have taped a baseboard, for example, and pushed it down with a 5-in-1 tool or a putty knife for you folks at home. Then they just take a damp rag on there, and that swells that edge of that tape and helps create a lot better line when you pull it. Again, interior use, 60 days. I would personally not leave it on 60 days. If we're at a job for 60 days, that'd be a very large project. But I would say 20, 30 days you'd probably be okay as long as there wasn't sunlight coming in a window, for example. Then I would not leave it on very long, and I would just pull up a little bit of tape every week just to make sure it wasn't releasing any adhesive. When you do have an adhesive release from tape and you've got a mess, you can take a product called denatured alcohol many times, test a small area, make sure it's not going to remove the finish of like a window or a baseboard, and you can remove a lot of this adhesive, a lot like you would if you took a sticker off of something new. Denatured alcohol is typically a good cleaner, but do a test sample first just to make sure it doesn't affect anything. Again, very delicate surfaces, and what do I mean by delicate? Let me explain that. If I had just painted trim the day before, this would be very good to use. This wouldn't pull the fresh paint off of the baseboard or trim. Or if I was wanting to tape a wall, walls tend to pull the paint off with these other tapes, but we could paint one day and we could literally tape onto a wall if we needed, if we had a bullnose corner where we wanted a color transition from one color to another. We could literally tape that wall the very next day, and sometimes 4 to 5 hours later. That's where these tapes are perfect. We're going to move on to another tape called Block It, and it is just another good tape. It's for interior only. And you can leave this on for up to 14 days, and it's not quite as delicate as these are. It has a little more adhesion. So if you're having problems with this tape sticking, then you can kind of move up to the Block It, and you can give that a try, especially if you're trying to dangle plastic off of some of these tapes here. These do not work good for hanging plastic. The plastic will come right off of the tape because there's very little tack to those. We're now going to come over here. Now these are interior or exterior. I did not have a new roll of this, but this is called Scotch Blue tape. The number is 2090, and it's also called multi-surface or multi-purpose, I believe. And this can be used for interior or exterior. It does say 14 days, but I've seen this release adhesive on a surface in 3 to 5 days. So you have to be really careful. This all depends on the time of year. If you're on a very sunny side of the home and you're in the summer and it's 90 degrees out, you better not leave this tape on for more than 1 to 2 days. So you will not want to tape the whole entire house and then go and paint. We usually tape one side of a house on the outside, and then we go ahead, do our painting, and then we pull the tape and then go to the next side so that we do not get all the adhesive coming off of this. Interior, you can leave it on for definitely the 14 days, but this is a higher tack, so this will pull the paint off of selected painted trim, and it can even pull the polyurethane or the stain off of stain trim on interior. So you do want to do a test sample of that as well to make sure that's not happening. But this is a very common tape for interior taping of baseboards, trim, that has been painted for a long time. Maybe it was painted before you got there, or has had a sufficient amount of time to dry. This is a different type of frog tape than the yellow. This one is interior or exterior, whereas the other one was just for interior. It is not a low tack, so it sticks very well. It sticks much like these other two, the Block It and then the 3M multi-purpose. So the way it sticks to the surface is very similar. And it's saying 21 days on interior and 7 days on exterior. Again, I would probably cut those numbers in half. And that also has that technology where the powder swells up on the end when it gets wet, either with your wet rag before you go and paint, or since there is water in paint and you're using water-based paint, that actually can work to seal that edge as well. We're going to move over here to our exterior tapes. This used to be known as the 3M exterior blue. They did change the color to yellow recently, and you have a 10-day pull on this. I believe it used to be 7, sometimes I've seen 14. So this is the same product, I am told, the 3M Scotch exterior surface that used to be blue just 2 years ago. I'm leaving this video in 2021, by the way, and it is really, really good on exterior use. It is weatherproof, so this tape feels completely different. It almost feels like plastic on the outside of the tape when you're taping. It almost feels like you're using strips of thin vinyl. It's a very good tape. These we do not use a lot, however, when we do, they're very good for concrete, brick, stucco, really rough wood, or for going over a lacquer coating. So when we cannot get our paint to stick on a surface like brick, stucco, concrete, we sometimes have to tape like shingles along a roof line. We will try this tape here or this orange tape, which is also a heavy-duty masking tape by Scotch. And these are very strong adhesive tapes. We would not tape any trim or any other surfaces as we're using these two. This you supposedly can leave on for 5 days, and this 3 days. I would try to get it off in 1 to 2 days if you're using either one of these. If this tape kept falling off of those surfaces, we usually beef it up to the old duct tape. This one happens to be called T-Rex. If you have never used T-Rex at home, it is amazing. It is very thick. It's a lot stickier than your normal duct tape than you just pick up at a hardware, and this stuff really bonds. So I would put this on, get your painting done, and pull this off the same day if at all possible. And again, if you're working in the shade, if you're working in early spring, if you're working in late fall and temperatures are a lot cooler, you can leave many of these exterior tapes on for longer periods of time. So I hope all of that was helpful. And if you liked what you saw, you can give us a thumbs up on our YouTube page, or for more information, you can contact MatthewsPainting.com.